Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today's video is all about a fast fashion kill bill that may see us paying more for fast fashion. So you may or may not have seen a French lawmaker going viral on TikTok for like an unboxing video. Basically, he was pretending to do a haul video from Shein that mimics another creator doing the same thing. The video is pretty funny. He's like showing his shoes off and talking about how they're so cute and so hot, I think is like the translation, but also talking about all of the different chemicals that come with products from brands like this. And yeah, he got a lot of like online love for it. It was very funny. But he used the video to talk about his new bill he's introducing to French legislation. And that's what I want to talk about today because it's so interesting. So the bill is called Demodernizing Fast Fashion with a Bonus Malus System. Basically, the crux of it is it's proposing a penalty of €5 per product for producers who put more than 1,000 products on the market every day. That is going to impact two big brands in particular that I can think of, Temu and Shein. They are both, rapidly growing. They've expanded to Europe and they've done really well thanks to their ultra low prices. And Shein in particular is estimated to add between 6,000 and 11,000 new items to their sites every day. So they would be well within this bill. So a little bit more about the bill. Basically, there would be a penalty if you're buying items from a fast fashion retailer that's, overproducing in this way of €5. But you would also be rewarded by buying something from a sustainable brand by up to €5. Honestly, I can see where France and this lawmaker is coming from when it comes to the impact of Shein and wanting to limit that. In 2022, the brand recorded sales of €963 million in France. It's literally France's most shopped retailer, and the second most retailer trails behind by like 30 million. So like they are doing the most in France. French people are just consuming at that rate. It's one of Shein's biggest markets, which is kind of crazy when you take into like the whole of the United States or whatever. France is like sitting there at the top 5, I believe. What I want to do is really quickly discuss pros and cons of this, and then give you my like kind of thoughts, because there is a couple of things we need to go through. So let's talk about the pros first. Other than the obvious, like, dissuading people to shop from fast fashion brands, penalizing fast fashion brands whose business model relies on cheap disposable clothing that's bad for the environment, that's all great. It will make the consumer think twice before buying a really cheap item from a fast fashion brand. Also, the bill poses that £5 tax will be put towards bonuses for companies that are sustainably manufacturing in France, but it also doesn't really qualify what a sustainable brand or manufacturing process looks like. And I guess that kind of leads us on to the cons, of which there are quite a few. For one thing, the bill doesn't make it quite clear who will be paying the tax, whether it will be the consumer or whether it will be the brand. And most likely this will be at the brand's discretion. So they could choose to add it to your total tax at the end of the checkout, or they could choose to swallow it in their own costs, but I don't think that's likely. But as I said, it will probably depend on the brand. Another very valid criticism is how this is going to be policed. Like, is there going to be like a watchdog team that's manually counting how many new styles a brand adds to their website every day? And what is to stop a brand from coming in just underneath the threshold of 1,000 items? Say like Shein decides to add 999 styles to their site just in France every day to come in just under this threshold. They're still having a massive impact. Like 999 items is still way too much and just not needed for the environment. But it would be a very clever move on their part and they wouldn't have to pay any of the tax. So there needs to be sort of tighter regulations potentially, or there needs to be a bit more thought into what we're policing. And I'm going to come back to this because this is more a personal criticism of mine that I want to go in separately. They also need to define what a new model is. The bill is very vague on this, and I think a lot of people have raised the concern that it could mean just like a new style, so like a completely new design of top, for instance, or whether it's going to be including SKUs. If you haven't worked in fashion, this is basically a way of defining a particular style for each item. So like each colorway of an item will have a different SKU, or each sizing will have a different SKU. So you can imagine one top might have like 20 different SKUs when you take into the fact that it has 5 different styles and it's available in 4 different colorways. So I think they need to clarify that a bit more, because although it is new items produced every time, I'm not sure you can penalize brands for, like, say, offering bigger size ranges, because then sizing wouldn't be inclusive. One of the bigger criticisms, and one that's like, you know, the widest spread on social media, is how this might be penalizing the poor only, and whether that's something we should be doing. So obviously there's always the argument when you talk about ultra fast fashion brands that they offer affordable fashion and an entry point to fashion for people who don't have that much money. And I've spoken about this before in some other videos about how this may be the case for some people, but it's generally not the case. Like, Shein's average shopper is not poor. We have seen the statistics on this. Someone who is opposed to this because of those reasons made quite an interesting tweet that I wanted to quickly discuss. They said that this bill isn't a tax, that Shein, Temu, AliExpress, etc. are already taxed by the government when they import goods. This is in fact a penalty punishing people who shop fast fashion, and by extension in the exploitation of people and in the increase of waste. And I think that does just kind of sum it up. Like, this is not a personal battle for the affordability of fashion and, you know, lawmakers taking away your right to £5 tops or whatever. This is about tackling labor exploitation. This is about tackling environmental pollution and overproduction. It is bigger than all of that, and I think we can all sacrifice £5 tops if it means that we get to live on this planet for longer. Okay, really quick, what are my thoughts on this? I think I've made it pretty clear that I like the bill in principle, but I want to go over my specific points where I think it needs to be rehashed or like clarified a little bit. I think the one thing I'm most concerned about is that fast fashion has sort of been left out. It seems that it's really targeting ultra fast fashion brands like Temu, like Shein, like AliExpress, because of the way they're talking about the new styles produced, and that's the bar for penalizing them. Like, they're saying 1,000 products produced will mean that they're subject to this tax. But they're not talking about the overproduction of less styles, which is where fast fashion brands sort of come in. Ultra fast fashion brands like Shein will produce low quantity numbers of a lot of styles to see what goes well, and then they can reorder what goes well. Whereas fast fashion brands like Zara, like H&M, do a bit more product research beforehand. They will buy into styles and they will mass produce less styles. So they might be adding only 200 new styles to their website every day, which is still loads, but a lot less than the 11,000 that Shein might be doing. But with those 200 styles, they might be producing 1,000 of them versus Shein like 100. You need to be tackling overproduction as a whole, and I think that these brands being left out of this tax is a mistake. Also, you have to think about whether this £5 tax will serve as some kind of moral absolution for the brands that are subject to it. And I think that's very dangerous if it does happen. So, like, for example, if Temu start having to pay this £5 tax for importing items into France, then they might see that as the cost of what they're doing. You know, labor exploitation in the global south, ruining our environment. They might see that as the price of that, but it's not helping to tackle those issues at the root. it's also not helping to tackle the issues where they're happening. So all these manufacturing hubs for ultra fast fashion brands are in the global south. They're in China, they're in Taiwan. I'm not going to keep naming places, but they are in the global south, where primarily female workers are exploited and made to work long hours. And this tax is not going to help those women that much. Sure, it might make a dent in the company's profits, but it's not directly impacting these communities that are hit hardest. And I think that's an issue that we need to tackle with this bill. Even the proceeds of the £5 tax are going towards French sustainable businesses. And I think there could be a potential to, I see the benefits of that, but I think maybe we need to talk about splitting the spoils of this tax and sending some money over to the communities that are actually impacted to help them do better. Like, for example, setting up a fund for garment worker families so these women don't have to work such crushing hours. I think we need to talk about that more. Okay, let's really quick talk about future steps for this bill. It's expected to be debated in Parliament for a number of months, so there will be a lot of time to make amendments to it and discuss certain things, and it will definitely change its shape before it becomes law, if it does. A lot of different representatives will have their say about this, so they'll probably go to businesses in France, they'll probably reach out to ultra fast fashion brands for a comment maybe, they'll talk to groups like Fashion Revolution France to get their point of view. And yeah, if this bill does come into fruition, I hope that we've addressed some of these concerns, because as it is right now, I don't think it's quite ready for market. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed talking about it, and I'll speak to you really soon. Have a nice day. Bye.